So now we are going to look at the second most popular choice by the white, namely knight captures e5. And here, if you look at the database, black has exclusively tried the move either bishop to d6 and d captures e4. Well, I think both the lines have their individual problem. And because most of the books and videos has considered this move, I am going to suggest in this video something very special and new. And trust me, you can get many white players off guard from this line. Not to mention, it has also some cool tricks included. Are you ready? Look at this. Queen to e7. And the funny part is, I have gone through many books and videos and very few of them has considered this move because it has been played very rare. But nevertheless, it contains lot of venom. For example, if white move the knight from here, then he's asking for the trouble. One high profile trick exists if your opponent continue with knight to g4, as black get instantly winning position with the following sequence. Queen captures e4, double attack. If knight go to e3, then d4 nab the piece, so that's not a good choice. And accordingly, the only reply here is bishop to e2. But after this, very simple chess. Bishop captures g4. White can play the move f3, but look at this. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen check, and after king to f1, not only black come up with a clear pawn advantage, but white king is clearly misplaced, which altogether already giving black a huge winning advantage. Well, the same goes if we continue with knight to f3, because after pawn takes e4, knight to d4 and queen to e5, we enter to the familiar trappy territory which we have seen earlier. For example, knight to b3. Black continue with knight to c6, and after knight to c3, knight to f6 and bishop to e2. If you remember, we gone through this position. We stop white to castle by playing bishop to d6. And if white play here d4, which is by far the most popular choice, then after pawn takes, queen takes, and the move knight to b4, this is one of the trap which frequently occurred and where black get instantly winning position. There is a double attack, and after queen to d1, the star move, bishop to f5, finish off the white. And if you think that knight to d4 resolve all white problem, then you are absolutely wrong, because black has this cute tactic, queen catches d4, winning the whole piece in the view of queen takes queen, knight to c2 check, king to d1 and knight captures d4, where the dust is cleared and black emerge with a piece and a pawn advantage. So it is pretty clear that if white moves the knight, then he is asking for the trouble. So by far the most popular choice is d4. And after this, probably the most powerful trick in this line start with f6. And I can't believe how many people has fallen for this, as if you look at the database here, queen to h5 check happen in more than 7,000 games. Can you believe it? It's a big time blunder. Why? What's wrong with this? Well, the answer is very simple. You play g6, and as white two pieces are hanging, white has to capture on g6, thinking that I am going to get a discover check, but just one move, queen captures e4, shatter all white's dream, as after bishop to e2 and the move queen captures g6, just at 7th move of the game, black obtained the whole piece. So this is one of the high profile trick exist in this line, which you definitely want to watch out in your own games. So it is pretty clear that after f6, white has to move the knight. And accordingly, there are 3 knight locations. So let's look at clockwise each of this move. Number 1, knight to g4. So white is planning to play knight to e3 and defend his position. But against this, black get instant equalizer. For example, you can take the knight here, and after queen takes, you take on e4, where everything get exchanged. And as I have highlighted over here, black has a very simple plan. He wants to bolster this pawn with f5, followed up with a quick long side castle, whereupon all this position always slightly favor the black camp. I can show you a sample line here. Bishop to c4, knight to c6, c3, now you castle, and after the move bishop to f4, you can get the bishop pair by playing bishop to d6. After bishop to g3, you cannot play f5 right now, so first black can park the king in the corner, and after castle and the move f5, as I have shown by the arrows, black has a very simple plan. He wants to play knight to f6 and then start marching this kingside pawn, which already give him a slightly better position. So this is how you should respond if your opponent continue with knight to g4. Well, most likely you are going to see either the move knight to f3 or knight to d3. And against each of them, our plan of campaign is very effective and also quite aggressive on the king side. For example, after knight to f3, you can take on e4, and after knight to d2, I propose this very simple but effective plan of campaign. That is, you play the move f5 followed up with knight to f6, and then you take out the queenside pieces and castle long. Whereupon you get a tremendous attack on the white king. And don't forget, in all of this position, because of the space gained in the center, always provide him the fun position. Let me show you how practically we can put up this plan in the practice. One of my recent game against a candidate master is a great example how great black attack is in this line. Here I start with f5 and my opponent continue with bishop to c4. So he's clearly planning to castle kingside. Whereupon after knight to f6, he indeed achieved it. Now comes the second important phase. Yup, we want to take out the queenside pieces so that we can now castle long and become the hell loose on the white king. Okay, rook to e1 happen. I castle on the queenside. And if f3, then e3 is a very strong reply. So in the game, obvious enough, comes on my king with b4. And at first sight, it looks scary because white attack is coming very fast. But now comes the third and the most important part of this line. Remember this golden move, knight to g4, which gives black a tailor-made attack on the white king. The point is, if white foolishly continue here with b5, then we can play queen to h4, attacking two spots. And if you think that, well, not an issue, white can take this knight, as there is no mate threatened, but see yourself, First, queen check, king to f1, and now simple move, bishop captures c6. And even though black is a piece down, white is completely busted from this position. For example, one of the recent games from the database continue with bishop to e3. White is really struggling to find a good move here. But just one move, e3, and I think white can hardly survive from this. Bishop takes f8 happen, whereupon black deliver this killer mating sequence. If you want, you can pause the video and find it by yourself. I am showing you right now. Queen captures g2, king to e2, queen captures f2, king to d3, and now this nice move, bishop to e4, whereupon after knight takes and the move knight to d4, white king actually gets checkmated at the center of the board. Well, most likely when you reach this position, majority of your opponent are going to continue with h3, kicking this knight immediately. But this is where the fun part begins, as we are going to sacrifice our knight with this nice move, h5. Let's go for the kill. Now obvious enough, white cannot touch this knight, as after pawn takes g4, we are opening up the h file, and if you think that g3 stop the queen intrusion, then think again, as after g5, that queen is indeed landing on the h file. So nope, taking that knight is a risky business for white, and accordingly, white should continue with his own attack, starting with a4. But see yourself whose attack is slow now, as black comes in with queen to h4. Well, credit to my opponent, he tried to defend accurately with queen to e2. But unfortunately for him, black position is so strong that he can continue with some natural attacking moves. Bishop to d6. If b5, then the knight can move anywhere. So in the game, my opponent come up with the move knight to f1, trying to hold on to his position. But just one move, f4, and white can see what is coming up. Well, he tried queen captures e4, but after the following sequence, queen captures f2 check, king to h1, and now the star move, f3. And in fact, this move was so strong that my opponent has to resign the game. The reason is very obvious. The mate has been threatened, and if you try to protect the mate by taking this pawn, then after just one move, rook to e8, and white position is completely collapsing. So remember this nice knight to g4 move, which gives you a very good fast attack on the white king in this line. Well, more or less same story goes if your opponent continue with knight to d3, as first we can hit the d pawn with knight to c6, taking away the square from the b1 knight, and now take on e4, whereupon after knight to f4 and the move f5, yup, same old story, we want to play knight to f6, bishop to d7, and quickly castle long, where we can generate some kingside activity. If knight to d5 here, then queen to d7 is a very strong reply, and I have attached a sample line in the PGN. But as per the database, by far the most popular choice is bishop to c4, which I am afraid allow us what we want to do. Yup, knight to f6, castle, bishop to d7, rook to e1, queen side castling, and after b4. This time around, yup, indeed, you can continue with knight to g4. But there is a stronger move here based on the position of white knight. And I think you already guessed it. Yup, g5, attacking the knight. Knight to h5. And now this nice move, bishop to e8, forces white hand. He has to take on f6. And after queen takes, a4 and h5. Yes, indeed, we have a double-edged position. But the question is, who is better and fast? And the obvious answer is black. As you can see, white has yet to develop his army, and black has some nice fast pawn roller coming up, including knight to e5, which altogether gives him a better advantage as confirmed by modern chess engine. So I think in the tournament practice, with some careful preparation, you can certainly create a winning attack from this position. Last but not least, I think the most critical response against our line is knight to c3, which I doubt any of your opponent will find it if they have seen this position first time, as this involves a piece sacrifice, which we should certainly take it. And after knight to d5, pay special attention to this line, guys, because black has to know some very accurate stuff. Here the forced response is queen to f7. After that, white continue with his onslaught, bishop to c4. So now the threat is knight to b6. So once again we are forced to play bishop to e6, whereupon white reveals his nasty trump. He wants to give this check. Black has to take it, and now bishop takes e6. And if you carefully look at this position, white obtained 3 pawns for a piece, and he has a monster bishop sitting right into the black guards. And at first sight this looks so scary, and in fact, as per the FIDE database, there are some nice wins by the white. But I'm afraid none of the black has played the accurate response. Majority of the games continue with e captures d4 and knight to f6, which I'm afraid not a good choice. So instead of this, I'm going to propose this nice move, knight to c6, whereupon I think the resulting positions are quite good for the black. For example, white can already go wrong if he continue with d5, as after knight to d4, we are attacking two locations, so that c3, knight captures e6, getting rid of that problematic piece, and after pawn takes and queen to d6. If the queen exchange, then e6 pawn always remain a weak spot, and black can regain it, and whenever this happens, white only get 2 pawns for a piece, which is not going to be enough. So d5 is a huge mistake by the white here. So the accurate response is c3, defending your center. And now you indeed goes for this sharp position. Pawn takes d4, c captures d4, and queen to d6, pressurizing the d pawn. Well, now white has to give up the bishop, and the baseline suggested by the engineers, bishop captures g8, rook captures g8, bishop to e3, queen to b4 check, queen to d2, and long castle, whereupon, yes indeed, white get the 3 pawn, but after the queen exchange, the extra piece does matter a lot. In case you are wondering why not to play d5 here, as I want to keep my lovely bishop, right? And yup, there are few games in the database reached to this position where I think with the accurate play, black is completely winning. How? Let's find it out. First, you give this queen check, attacking double spot, bishop to d2. Now you take on e4 with the check. If queen to e2, then this is the easiest one. You exchange the queen and then give this check, whereupon black is completely winning. So the accurate response here is bishop to e3, but this allows black to complete his piece development with bishop to b4 check, king to f1, and knight to f6. Dust is cleared, and now white has only 2 pawns for a piece. And the following Grandmaster game gives you how quickly black get an upper hand. White continue with a3, bishop to d6 has been played, and after queen to e2, black find the elegant way to remove that dangerous bishop by playing knight to d8. Queen to b5 happened, king to e7, rook to e1, but I think this gives enough time to provide the defense by playing knight captures e6, pawn takes e6, and now nice move, rook to e8, bishop takes a7, but I think this was a losing mistake, as after queen to c6, white is forced to exchange the queen, whereupon black emerged with a clear piece advantage, which he indeed converted into the later endgame. So even though this piece sacrifice line starting with knight to c3 contains some venom, I think as I have shown here, black is well placed by capturing this piece and provide the accurate winning defense. That's it guys. After watching this video, now you're confident enough to meet the move knight captures e5. Remember, rather than going into the main line, we are going to surprise white with this rare but tricky move queen to e7, and after d4 and f6, it doesn't matter however white plays. As I have shown in this video, in most of the lines, white will really struggle as black is the one who is better prepared. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment, and I'll see you in my next episode very soon. Bye and take care.